Jumping into the number 5 spot of the best XXL gaming mouse pads is the Corsair MN350 Pro, coming in at a price tag of $39.99. If you want to check out any of the 5 mouse pads in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But the Corsair MN350 Pro. Now this comes packaged rolled up, as do, well, all of them on the list because they're huge. It is a stiffer pad, which makes it harder to roll completely flat out of the box, but well, you take your time, and it's definitely easier with these larger pads than it is with smaller pads just because they kind of pressurize themselves, if that makes sense. Now let's talk about the actual characteristics of this pad itself. Firstly, it is a smooth glide. Since this is more of a stiff pad, it has a much slower glide, and it is definitely more of a control-focused mouse pad. If you like sniping or have a slower playstyle, or you just play games where you're not whipping as much, but more focused on the precision, or even if you have a high DPI, if you're a high DPI player, high sensitivity player, this is also something that you definitely want to look at. There is tons of stopping power here. Your mouse locks completely into place after fast movements. That being said, there is quite a bit of friction, so getting your mouse to move again does take some effort. The control here is great, very precise with small movements and corrections. So again, if you're sniping, tracking someone while sniping, fantastic for that. Now, as for the size, this is very important considering that this is an XXL video. This comes in at 36.6 inches by 15.7 inches, and it is 4 millimeters thick. And I meant millimeters by millimeters. It just came off weird, but now for the build, the surface is a microweave fabric with a white Corsair logo in the bottom right corner. Then there is a 4mm rubber base with an anti-skid texture on the bottom. It's pretty standard stuff, but you get stitched edges here, which is a nice plus, as this is not too crazy expensive. With that, let's move on to the number 4 spot, which is the SteelSeries Quick 3XXL. Coming in at a price tag of $49.99. This is a little bit more than XL or XXL, but yeah, so it's huge. So this one's really big and quite a good value for the money because of how ginormous this freaking mouse pad. It's humongous. I think I might have not correctly measured this one, but still a great pad. This comes rolled up, but it's pretty easy to lay it flat, maybe possibly due just to the sheer size of this. But talking about the performance here, this is a very smooth and even glide. This is definitely a slower and more control-focused mouse pad, similar to, well, the Corsair. It has a lot of stopping power. Those mixed together makes it better for sniping and, again, slower paced gaming styles. If you have a fast play style with a lot of fast whips, it can almost get tiring, and that both applies to this pad as well as the previous pad. But the flip side of that is control is really good. Small movements and corrections of overshooting are very precise. This screams ultimate precision with slower movements. Sniping with this mouse pad is really enjoyable with how precise you can get with those very, very small movements. For the size of this one, this is a whopping 48 inches by 23.2 inches, and it is 3 millimeters thick. This has a great range of sizes. Get this going even bigger, up to 63 inches by 31.5 inches. Who is buying these ginormous desk pads? That's huge. Okay, but that aside, it's a really good value for the size of pad you get and then the money. Now the surface is a micro woven cloth with a white SteelSeries logo in the bottom right. Then there is a non-slip rubber base with SteelSeries logos all on the bottom, and no stitch edges here. So you don't get any stitch edges, but still a good value. With that, let's move on to the number 3 spot, which is the Asus ROG Sheath, coming in at a price tag of actually a really good price of $29.99. The value proposition here is huge. Now this comes packaged rolled up, and it isn't hard at all to roll flat since it is a thinner mouse pad, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is pretty easy to roll it flat. Now, this was a mouse pad that legitimately surprised me. I kind of wasn't expecting much because it was honestly very inexpensive, but yeah. Let's talk about it. This had a very smooth glide. The mouse pad almost has dual personalities, which is kind of the most interesting thing here and makes it a really good value proposition, maybe. When you don't put a lot of pressure on the mouse, this glides faster and allows you to move quickly without a ton of friction or stopping power, which is not necessarily a good thing, right? This can cause you overshooting targets and things like that. However, the stopping power dramatically increases with pressure here. Now, this is pretty much true amongst any mouse pad, but it's much more dramatic with the ROG Sheath. So this gives you a lot more control and precision, making this have more of a dual personality. And again, like I said, all mouse pads usually will have some sort of that kind of effect, but this one, it was such a vast difference here that it actually makes it quite good, especially if you're on a budget. This allows you to play a more controlled playstyle, as well as being able to whip around quickly without having any fatigue. Now, for control, this does lack some control. It definitely has enough for fast-paced playstyle when I am pressing down on the mouse pad, but when not pressing down, when doing things more like sniping, where you're not gonna wanna press down most of the time, as you're not consistently whipping the mouse around, which does add pressure downwards, the control there isn't great. However, for things like Valorant, yeah, this would be great. Now for the size, this comes in at 35.4 inches by 17.3 inches, and it is 3 millimils thick. I gotta stop doing that, man. That's not cool. Now, this is a cloth surface with pink accents and the ASUS logo in the bottom right, although there are a bunch of different colorways, so check the links below for the different colorways and stuff. It's actually kind of cool. Non-slip base and then pink stitched edges that are quite soft to the touch, which is nice, but again, the stitching around the edges is gonna change by colorway. But honestly, for having stitch edges and the mouse pad overall being a good mouse pad, I mean, $29.99 that's really good. But moving on to the number 2 spot, this is the Razer Gigantus V2. Coming in at a price tag of $29.99, similar to, well, exactly the same price as the previous one. This comes packaged rolled up, and it is very easy to actually get this to lay flat, surprisingly easy. The texture here is rougher to the left and right, and smoother up and down. Now, this is one of those like issues with the Gigantus V2 is that they don't uniformly cut the fabric out the same direction every time. So I actually have the Gigantus V2 in a smaller size, and the weave actually goes the opposite angle. So it's smoother to the left and right on the smaller one, but on this XXL version, it is smoother up and down. So that's kind of an issue, but it didn't bother me too much in game. It is still very smooth and it glides well without feeling like it's an overly fast pad. But again, this is not like the Quik or the Corsair. This is definitely a faster pad, but not at all what I would consider a fast pad, if that makes sense at all. It's really enjoyable for fast-paced gaming. There's great stopping power here. When you do those fast whips to stops to get on target, the mouse snaps on target and it locks in. Really like that. You do need some force to get this moving again, but not nearly as much as with the Corsair or the Steel series. The control here is also really good. It is easy to correct small movements with precision without the mouse pad feeling sticky. Now for the size here, it's a great value. Coming in at 37 inches by 16.14 inches and 4 millimeters. Dude, 4 millimeters thick, okay? This also has a larger 3XL size that is 47.24 inches by 21.65 inches and is also 4 millimeters thick. There, I did it without making it weird, okay? Now for the build, this is a textured micro weave cloth surface, high density rubber foam base with dedicated anti-slip bottom. I sound like I'm reading off of a advertisement right now, but it's got this cool green hexagon patterns in the bottom, which I mean in the bottom, it's the anti-slip in the bottom, okay? That's what it is. In the bottom, it's green and it's anti-slip and it looks cool. That's it. Now here you get no stitch edges. That's why, well, the ASUS was such a good value for the same price as this one. But I actually do prefer this pad itself over to ASUS just a little bit. That's why it's in the number 2 spot. Then you also get the Razer logo stitched on in the upper right corner. But with that, let's move on to the best XXL pad. And obviously these are fairly budget, but not considered budget at all. This is the X-Ray Pad Aqua Control Plus, coming in at a price tag of, I want Australian there for a second, $48.99. This comes packaged rolled up. However, it was very, very easy, the easiest on the list to get rolled out flat, so that's great. This is a very balanced middle ground pad, which is a really good thing. And I know this might be a little bit of an out there statement, but this is kind of like a budget Artisan Zero. Like, it has a lot of the same characteristics as the Artisan Zero. Not quite as good, obviously, that's why it's a budget one, but really good. This has a texture to it for sure, but it's still very smooth. This has a medium fast glide, but still has great stopping power, similar to the Artisan Zero. Fast whips lock into place without having to excrete a lot of energy, and that's kind of one of those Artisan Zero vibes there. It's very like effortless. Again, it's similar to the Artisan Zero with the glide mixed with stopping power. It handles both fast-paced games as well as sniping really well. As for control, again, the control here is really good. Even though this isn't a control pad, it is easy to make small corrections and precise movements. Sniping with his mouse pad was really enjoyable and I was very accurate with it. Size here measures in at 35.43 inches by 15.75 inches and it is 3 millimeters thick. Also, it has this really cool look and design to it, which you can also get in a grayed out version, which I think I prefer, but I got this color for the thumbnail if it was gonna be in the video. So hopefully that's in the thumbnail. Yeah. For the build, this is a multicolored cloth surface that has a single bubble rubber foam middle layer thingy, and then a non-slip bottom, obviously. This also does have stitched edges, and overall the build quality here, really impressive. I really think this is gonna last quite a long time. Again, if you wanna check out any of the 5 mouse pads in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. And again, this is like kind of a budget video, so don't say, oh my God, there's like better mouse pads out there. Like, haven't you tried this one and that one? I know, guys. This is kind of a middle ground of like, I didn't want to call it budget, because when you're spending $50 for a mouse pad, it's not really budget, but it's also like not the fantastic, like the most expensive ones out there that are just ridiculously priced. So do keep in mind this is kind of above budget, but not crazy. Maybe I'll do like a high-end crazy one in the future, but this was Consumer Tech Review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.